G'day guys, Justin here, coming at you with another NBA Player of the Day video, this time for November 19th, 2017. Sorry it's a bit late, had a bit to catch up on, but my Player of the Day for November 19th, 2017, with a total impact score of 0.341, one of the better games we've seen all year, from an all-round perspective, the ability to really devour their stat line, so to speak. It was Andre Drummond over the Detroit Pistons in a win versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had 16 rebounds with 9 of those offensive, with 4 assists on top, 1 steal and 2 blocks, so a reasonably rounded defensive game. We'll get to that in a second though. 53.3% from the field, which is good to see. No threes taken, even better. And for a guy who sucks at the free throw line, has really improved to an 80% free throw. 80% free throw shooting, which is good to see. 6 turnovers certainly negates the passing game, and his ability not to really make up for with it. On steals certainly means a negative impact there, and the 3 fouls on shot blocks isn't helpful. But in 33 minutes of play to really crash the boards like that, 9 of the team's 11 offensive rebounds is a tremendous help there. So a lot of these highlights we'll be talking about are general rebounds, but if you don't get rebounds, you don't win games of basketball. That's simply a fact. So he started with an offensive tip-in, which was missed, following a Harris missed shot rather than just leave it there. He gave it the miss and was fouled on the way back up and made both free throws, which is something that I don't think we would have said in the past about Andre Drummond, even though he really hustles on those offensive boards and he's able to shoot over 50%. It's rare he converts from the line, so it's good to see him getting it done there. He then hit a pass up to Avery Bradley, who was driving into space, created by Drummond on the previous possession there, and he made the floater, which was easy to see. He then had a defensive rebound and then following a Zhang miss, and he was able to throw the outlet to Avery Bradley for the layup. Avery Bradley started really sloppy, so to speak, at the beginning of the year. For the Pistons, he wasn't looking very well, but he certainly started to hit his groove. And with Reggie Jackson, Tobias Harris, and Andre Drummond playing well, they're a team that's certainly going to be in the playoffs this season. Then had an alley-oop pass for the jam following Reggie Jackson, and that was all following pick and roll action at the top of the three-point line. So, again, big guys able to utilise their pick and roll, unless your name's Hassan Whiteside. Even Domantas Sabonis has been playing the pick and roll well. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. But, when you've got a capable guard like a Reggie Jackson who's able to score himself, and just with his quickness create space, and utilising that screen there of Drummond, you've got Harrison and Avery Bradley to spread the floor, you're going to be in pretty good stead as a team. So took advantage there, rolled to the hoop and got the alley-oop pass for the jam. He then had a give and go with Avery Bradley, and he rolled to the hoop and scored off of the bounce pass from Bradley. Scored over Teague and Gibson. You'll find the primary defenders here for Drummond were usually Gibson or Karl Anthony Towns. It was very rare that he was just open by himself. And as I mentioned, using those pick and rolls there and taking advantage of the space, something that you like to see. Just give me a second there. He then had a tip in following a missed Harris 3 over Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Another guy who they try and utilise down low a lot, Minnesota, and I don't think it's working for them, is Andrew Wiggins. I think someone like a Jimmy Butler, whose defensive abilities surpasses that of pretty much both Anthony Towns and Wiggins combined, would be someone they could utilise down there, just to use that length for a shorter guy, a guard as well. But nonetheless, the tip in following the Harris miss 3 over Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. Another one like Karl Anthony Towns, a player who's very restricted in his shooting ability. He'll have nights where he gets 20, 25 shots up, but then he has the next night he's going to get 7 or 8 shots up. It's just trying to share the ball amongst those 3 to 4 ball-dominant players. Someone like a Jeff Teague certainly fitting into that side, and Gibson was certainly hampered in Chicago by a lack of minutes management. His career suffered because of that, but nonetheless, he's making the most of what he's got dealt with. And an offensive rebound following a missed 3 of Harris, scored and converted the shot while being fouled by Gibson and Butler and made the N1 again. Good to see a big guy whose terrible free throw shooting has tremendously improved, and again, getting those rebounds over Gibson and Butler. Harris off, which is kind of strange to us. Harris has been playing really well for the Pistons lately, but just wasn't able to get the job done as much this game. But nonetheless, you had guys stepping up, which was the main thing. We then had an offensive rebound and miss, and then he passed out to Harris, who was fouled while shooting. So 2 offensive rebounds, again, crashing that glass, and it's good to see making good use out of it. I will say, though, he was bad at a lot of his tip-ins. You'll find a lot of these rebounds, offensive rebounds, weren't resulting in a lot of scores, which is a problem that I think the Pistons are really going to have to look at. Maybe even a reduction in offensive rebounds might have to come about if it means that there's more scoring out of it. And if he does get an offensive rebound, I mean, it sounds bad with a stat pad, pass out and set up. It can be a good option when you've got 14 seconds on the clock. He then grabbed the defensive rebound following the Andrew Wiggins missed free throw, and then had an offensive rebound, missed the putback and regained the offensive rebound, and then drove to the hoop, but unfortunately threw the ball away. So again, just one of those things where you gain that offensive possession, but you rush the shot back up and you cost yourself valuable points in possession. Go back into your setup, run it again, do something different. But if you're going to just keep wasting possession, it's going to kill you. And again, it's the difference between a good and a bad team. Not that the Pistons are a bad team, they're an okay team, but come playoff time, it's going to cost them. Drummond can have all the rebounds he wants, but if they're not going to be effective possessions, there's no point keeping the ball around. Post up on Zheng under the basket, and he scored the hook shot with him right in his space, which is really good to see. A really arcing hook shot, and to be able to make those shots, considering some of the misses he'd had earlier in the night, it was a bit of a confidence booster there. Then had a defensive rebound following the disruption of the Shabazz Muhammad shot. Come down the floor, and we had an off-ball screen by Bradley, an on-ball screen by Smith, which then allowed for him to roll to the basket for the alley-oop layup at the rim over Andrew Wiggins. So again, utilising those screens are the guards, which is really giving a lot of space, particularly for ball-dominant guards in this era. All of a sudden, there's a paddock of space to run into, no one about, and they're able to just get the job done. And that's what these guys have really been doing, unless you're a Sam Whiteside. But, I mean, as I mentioned, when you've got someone like an Avery Bradley or a Reggie Jackson or a Tobias Harris who demands a defender, and if you're going to use picks to get open, you're either going to have someone slip the pick or go over it rather than rotate off of it. And that just means that you're going to get a 2-on-1 situation with a big guy who's open, and then all of a sudden, if the big guy gets the ball and he gets caught, bang, bang, you've got a couple of passes. It's quite effective, and it works a lot of the time. He then had the defensive rebound following the Karl Anthony Towns missed layup, to which he disrupted a bit. And then almost on the next possession for Minnesota, he blocked Karl Anthony Towns' baseline drive against the glass and gathered the rebound. So Anthony Towns had a really off night, and defensively he wasn't doing his best work either. That's something he's really going to have to work on. Another reason why people rate someone like a Kristaps Porzingis over a Karl Anthony Towns at this point. And had the offensive rebound over Jimmy Butler. He missed the hook shot with some late D. Missed the hook shot late D on Gibson in the mid-range, and he had late D from Gibson at mid-range, but then he also gathered the miss off the rim. So, yeah, it was pretty unlucky there. Again, when you get your offensive rebounds, this is something, as I mentioned, they're going to have to look to kick out because there's too many valuable possessions being cost here, and it's something you really don't want to risk come playoff time. So, again, the offensive rebound over Jimmy Butler, he missed the hook shot, and there was some late down Gibson at the mid-range. He defended late on Gibson at the mid-range. That was a completely different possession. Sorry about that. So, yeah, he had the late down Gibson at the mid-range and managed to gather the miss off the rim. So a little bit of defensive presence there. Can't always tell the steals and blocks. It's just unfortunate that his steals, blocks, and passing game was negated by his fouling and his turnovers. Then had a bounce pass from the top of the circle to a cutting Avery Bradley for the layup and the foul on Jeff Teague on that Bradley layup. So again, able to use his eyes and his court vision. And again, someone like Andre Drummond, who's been having a good night, is able to get possession of the ball. That idea of them constantly having the ball also draws your defense in. So able to use that. And again, Avery Bradley getting into space, the big guy drawing out possession, just a basic bounce pass inside, and that's what gathered the layup and the foul. He then blocked Jeff Teague's layup against the glass and gathered the defensive rebound on a following possession over Gibson following a Teague missed three. So again, that internal presence, whether scoring, defending, or rebounding, was quite pivotal to the Pistons, and something that's certainly going to help them. Again, Avery Bradley, Jeff Teague, when you've got Avery Bradley, Reggie Jackson, I should be saying there, and Tobias Harris are able to shoot that outside ball or come inside, you're certainly going to create space for yourself, and that's what the Pistons have been able to do. He then managed to fake the pick on Jackson for Reggie Jackson on Jeff Teague, rolled to the hoop for the alley-oop layup over Karl Anthony Towns, which was quite good to see. And then on the following possession, he had a give and go with Jackson, rolled to the hoop and got the score of the hook shot over Karl Anthony Towns. And that is what finished the game there for Detroit. a win, which was something good. Minnesota looking to break 500 on the week, and it just didn't happen, thanks to Detroit. But as I mentioned, things that need to come out of this game is the fact that they turn the ball over quite easily, and I think that's a product of rushing in after their offensive rebounds. If it's not being effective, if you're constantly scoring and you know you're on a hot streak scoring on offensive boards or getting fouls and getting to the line, that's great. But they had periods in the game here where they were simply just going up, getting fouled, going up, missing the shot, going up, missing the shot, or, getting possession, rushing it and turning it over. Again, it's valuable when you're playing a team like Minnesota, who have that ability to go 7-8 deep into the roster when they really want to, and they can really capitalise in situations like that. I mean, not to fault Drummond, as I mentioned, 20 points, 16 rebounds, 9 offensive with the 4 assists. Again, 6 turnovers, 3 fouls negates that, 1 steal and 2 blocks. But for a big guy who was shooting less than 50% for his career, he's now shooting 80% this season at the stripe, making over 53% from the field. You've got to really weigh up your options. Do you want to keep rushing knowing that you've got this efficient guy there? I mean, even he was rushing as well. So do you want to go back and set up and really take advantage, or do you want to rush through? Come playoff time, I know which one I'd be doing, and that's certainly not rushing. Again, guys like Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, and Reggie Jackson, they're a valuable 1-to-3 combination there, and there's plenty to work with. It's just they've got to be efficient with their possessions, and that's one thing that Detroit really needs to work on. But a consistent side, they've been a good consistent side, but I believe that's just something they've got to work on, getting those and making the most of those offensive possessions when they get them. Anyway, guys, that's been me. Thank you very much for listening. Again, my player of the day for the 19th of November 2017 with a total impact score of 0.341, really attributed those 9 of 11 offensive rebounds for the team to Andre Drummond. So again, player of the day, Andre Drummond, total impact score of 0.314, 20.16 rebounds, 9 offensive, 4 assists, 1 steal and 2 blocks on 53.3% shooting, 80% from the stripe. 6 turnovers really doesn't look good for the passing game and the steal game. And 3 personal fouls not looking good for the defensive game as well. All in between 33-34 minutes. So tried to contribute as much as he could in what is pretty much 2/3 of the game. Again, in a win, which is all you can ask for. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe for more videos. Leave a comment. Let me know who your player of the day is. What do you think the Pistons need to improve on? Again, with the video, who was your player of the day? Anyone I seem to have missed off, how the grading system's going, all that general stuff. A Michael Jordan video will be coming very soon. I have completed that. I'm trying to tee that up with Shardy. Shout out to Shardy on Twitter. He's looking to join me on that. We're also trying to organise at the end of every month to do a bit of an evaluation of whether the league sits, who our players of the day are, the month are, who says the MVP, who's performed, who hasn't, and what we're expecting for the rest of the season. So again, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Again, follow me on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan. All of those ways will be able to keep you updated with the channel and the content I'm producing. So again, thank you very much for listening, and my player of the day for November 19th, 2017, with a total impact score of 0.341 was Andre Drummond of the Detroit Pistons.